I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. Welcome back to the show, Stewart.
Thank you, Jim.
The big $40 billion BC LNG project announced this week. Of course, we know it's good news for business. Is it good news for everybody?
It's good news for Canada because what it makes our country, finally, after so long in trying, you could almost say for 3/4 of a century, trying to become a global energy power. And with this project, for the first time, you can really say that we've become that because it lets us get one of our most significant natural resources to the global marketplace. And until now, we just haven't been able to do that with oil and gas.
Some of the benefits of it, we know, of course, a lot of construction work. The government will be getting royalties and taxes. Who else benefits from it?
You know, it's such an extensive list. It's hard to know where to begin, but you could certainly look, locally at what it means for jobs in British Columbia. The thing about natural gas production is it's all based on what we have here in BC. We have these shale gas deposits. They're located way up in the far right corner of the province, the northeast, Peace River country. And up there we've got the Montney Shale, which is this incredibly deep shale. It's so far underground, it's about 5,000 meters below ground before they start hitting the gas. That's how far they have to drill down to get it. We've only had the technology to do that effectively for the last few years. It's just in the last decade this has come about. It's almost a revolution of technology, and it so happens that we've got the shale gas that we can get at. And so the benefits of that are extensive because they need special equipment. It's very high tech, so it needs people with PhDs and trade diplomas and everything in between to be able to do the jobs. Because, to drill one gas well, you probably need 130 different people with specializations all over the map. Seismic specialists. You've got people who watch the process from office towers hundreds of miles away from the actual drill site to make sure it's all done safely. You've got the people who cement the casings so that nothing gets into the water table, which we don't want to happen. We don't want to see any pollution in the groundwater. That's bad. We want to make sure it doesn't leak out, so they have all these specialists who have to make sure it's tight. I mean, all these are jobs. They require equipment. They require gaskets. People have to put those in a warehouse and get them from Vancouver or Langley or Richmond up to the job site. Then you've got all of the trades to build the pipeline that has to be built to get to the coast. Then we're going to build this gigantic freezer on the coast, call it that. It's way more complicated, of course, to turn the natural gas into liquefied natural gas by freezing it, then put it on ships. So you've got to build the port infrastructure. You've got to have all of the regulations. One of the cool things about this whole thing is the degree to which First Nations are part of the economic equation. It's part of the new Canada, I think. It's just in the last few years that no one in Canada would think of doing something like this without putting the Indigenous relations at the forefront. And that's for many reasons. One reason is that a lot of the natural resource activity for this takes place on traditional territories of First Nations who have to be consulted and have to be part of it and get the benefits. I mean, the days of doing these things and the nearby Indian band is living in poverty. I mean, that's part of our past that we have to put behind us. It's a new era.
Was LNG done right in the fact that you said they respected the process, and Trans Mountain, they seem to do their best to just steamroller over things? Is this the new blueprint?
Well, I think LNG Canada certainly got something to teach us about that. I mean, not excessively, but exceptionally cautious in their approach. I think Trans Mountain, although it was also done with a high degree of professionalism, by the nature of the commodity, the fact it's oil rather than gas, I think that attracted a degree of scrutiny and activism. I think it was easier to to inflame public fears about what this means. I've studied both of these things from every conceivable angle. I think they're actually both safe. They're both desirable. Ultimately, they will both be part of our export mix. It's just a little more congested in issues for the oil pipeline to get ahead. And I mean, that's some of the other news we should talk about this week. But with LNG, I think that the team, and I've met a lot of these people who have put together the engineering side, the public engagement side, the marketing side, the regulatory side. These are smart people, boy, and they work as a team across different parts of the consortium. They have people from Japan, from China, from Malaysia. You meet international folks in Vancouver now. The other thing about it is this project call it a trading bridge. It's bridging the west coast of Canada and all of Canada to the new Asian markets, because it's part of a track of trade that requires all sorts of other things to be created for it to be successful. You need to have partnerships. You need to have finance, insurance. We have to understand how to do business at a mega scale with foreign countries, and we're not used to doing that in Canada. So LNG has made us get better at doing these very specialized things. Once we've got the expertise, we can use it for other stuff too, in all kinds of sectors. So that's why I would say a trading bridge is a concept that we should talk about more, because this is bridging us into the growth economy of the world. North America is not really growing, but Asia is growing. They need more energy. We can be part of that. So now we're getting the expertise to do it.
Also, they're going to have to build a pipeline to Kitimat to transport that natural gas. Could that pipeline also be used to transport any oil they might discover along the way to drilling this natural gas?
Well, it's unlikely that you would concurrently, or I would say I've never heard of concurrent use of a pipeline, but I've heard of pipelines being converted from gas to oil. That happens. I don't hear of it being talked about in this case, but I think that there is another concept, one that Kevin Haleen, the Lac Coulomb gentleman who has pursued an energy corridor. He'd like to build a corridor across the north that has a couple of oil pipelines and a couple of gas pipelines side by side through one corridor that's indigenous-led and allows First Nations to really get involved in the economy. Now, that's something that I think we'll also be hearing more about.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after the break. I know pipelines are used for different stuff all the time. They said natural gas, then gasoline, then oil, then something else. They just put nitrogen in between the different things. You lose about 25 barrels of oil in the transition, is how that works.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So once you build a pipeline is a pipeline.
Yeah, they're made of very heavy grade of steel, and it has the same characteristics either way. A gas pipeline.
Yeah, because I just watched a documentary about the great inventions of the 20th century, and they said pipelines because that's what they do. They'll ship gasoline, then they'll ship natural gas, then they'll ship heavy oil, then they'll send brake fluid. They just sort it out. They just have a program, and like they said, you lose. And at first they thought you actually had to send kind of like a physical barrier down the pipeline. It's not true. They just put nitrogen in and inert gas. And there's a little bit of a mixed product that comes out, but so they can switch over a pipeline overnight, or not overnight, I mean within an hour.
Well, the Trans Mountain Pipeline is a rare example in North America, or a unique example of such a pipeline, and they have these batches.
Yes,
they do it in batches.
They send batches.
And they have a certain order. If you go to the wine taste, you notice how they start you out on maybe a little glass of bubbly, and then you move into a white, and then into a Chardonnay with some oak, and then you get into a light red. They do it like that in the pipeline too, except it's the lighter stuff to the heavier stuff.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp, MGI and the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected several high-grade gold intersections, including 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. Additional drill targets on the LH property have been identified by a 2018 drone airborne magnetic survey to further evaluate a pyrrhotite-enriched gold-bearing system. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, the new government in Quebec has said it's in favor of Energy East. Is that good news for Western Canada?
Yeah, I think a cautious approach on that. I mean, it's a new group in Quebec. They're going to take a little time to settle down there, and people there want to understand what their mission is in government. But they are going to be, I think, more focused on developing what's realistic in the economy, and that is one of them. You know, Quebecers have struck me for a number of years as ones who are a little more aspirational about the future of energy than other parts of the country. A lot of Quebecers will tell me that we don't need to have oil and gas. We don't need this horrible gasoline. But at the same time, I look at the stats for Quebec, and holy smokes, they're all buying bigger cars with bigger engines out there. They're buying SUVs. They've stopped buying, sedans. They don't. That number crossed over some time ago. So there's a gap. There has been a gap between what they say and think and what they're actually doing. And I think this is a government that maybe has got a little more of a grip on what's actually happening in the world. And that's good, because if we get that Energy East pipeline, there's a number of things that will happen. First of all, the transfers that come from Alberta to Quebec to help Quebec have this fantastic standard of life will be able to continue, which is good for Quebec, and also other countries that get those transfers. So that's, Quebec's selfish benefit. I'm sure they understand that. But I think for the country overall, if we're able to ship the products of Alberta to the East Coast, that means it can get to markets in Europe and elsewhere by sea that we've been unable to do. And that's another part of the maturity of Canadian energy, to be one of those countries that not just has some reserves that it can kind of give away to its next door neighbor, the United States, for a song, but also be able to get those to the marketplace and get what they're really worth. And I think, especially when it's non-renewable resources, we have a moral duty to the planet to make sure that we are respecting the value of the things that we use, not just, using them willy-nilly. And I think over the long term, having the market pricing what things are really worth will lead to energy conservation and efficiency, so that we can use these things properly. It's just nobody wins except, I guess, our friends in the U.S. when we give them something for less than it's worth.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of Powerband Solutions. Powerband is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. Powerband Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX and on the OTCQB symbol PWWBF and on Frankfurt symbol 1ZV. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, you posted something here about go rogue with out-of-the-box thinking. What's that all about?
Well, I've been watching the innovation in some of our Canadian resource sectors. They're all interesting, forestry and oil and gas, but mining has got my attention this week because the people at Gold Corp have once again come out with their Disrupt Mining program, and they do this now for the third year running. What they're trying to do is bring younger people coming out of universities who've got, engineering or geology backgrounds or metallurgy, who are interested in sustainability and want to jumpstart the career. So Gold Corp, which is a giant Canadian company, started here in Vancouver, but now they're based out in Toronto. They are looking to encourage digital transformation in how they understand ore deposits, transformation in how geological mapping takes place, the the transformation of metallurgy in decreasing the mass, energy, water, and chemical intensity that are needed to make metals, and mining processes, operating and managing mines more effectively, greater productivity. So what they're saying is, we've got $1 million. If you're a young upstart company, you're coming out with some ideas, let us know what they are. They've got a website until November 5th. You can apply for this. So there might be some people listening who are at our universities who are in maybe a technical program of some kind who have some brilliant idea. Hey, you could use that to start your career as an entrepreneur. They've got this category. I listed a few of them: geology, metallurgy. There's one, they just call it Go Rogue. And that's where there's an idea that's so out of the box it deserves its own category. What is it? We don't know. It's whatever someone might have that they think could change the world. So it's pretty cool. And good for Gold Corp for doing this. I know at Teck, another great Vancouver story in mining, they're also really pushing the innovation agenda. I think they are clearly a company that's in command of this nexus between the resource needs that humanity has to get through every day with the material requirements of life, but also doing it sustainably through thinking better and using technology effectively to reduce the impact of getting what we need.
Now, is this on top of the very modern technology that's clean that Canada uses for its mining?
I would say it is a way to maybe put a sharper edge on Canadian innovation, because Canada is probably in the top 2 or 3 countries in the world in mining. It's unfortunately, although listeners of this show I think probably already know that, I think for a lot of Canadians, they don't really hear about it. We're kind of shy and retiring in our ways when it comes to celebrating what we're really, really good at. And we are so good at mining, not just finance of mining in Vancouver, but also the technology to do mining well. But, to have a company pushing the boundaries further, I think is just a signal that we want to make sure that more Canadians understand that we are dependent in Canada, above almost every other country, on the excellence of this sector to be part of our story of prosperity.
Yes, and I'm thinking about pulp mills and their drive to zero effluent. Can we see the same thing for mining?
Yes, that's the vision, and you see in every area. I know there's often a chorus of environmental groups who are always pushing for higher standards, and that's ultimately a good thing, but I think it can be a challenge to mining to find those ways, and they're always being pushed to do that. Some of the innovation is difficult to get at. People in mining will say, well, there's really nothing you can do to innovate in what happens in the mill. I mean, it is what it is. You're going to crush rock and you're going to get the minerals out of that rock, and it is what it is, and it's going to have an impact. But then you find people who say, well, we're going to keep pushing through. We're going to find those processes that can incrementally improve what we do. And it's so interesting when you go to a big mining exhibition, be it Roundup here in January in Vancouver, 7,000 people, or you go to Toronto later in the year for the PDAC, the Prospectors Developers Association of Canada, 35,000 people from around the world, biggest of its kind in the world. And you hear those people gathering, and you see how they're trying to push the envelope on everything imaginable. It's exciting stuff, at least to me. To rock people, it is.
Well, you find out things like, instead of just crushing rocks, how about having bacteria do the job for you?
Now, there you go. I think you should be in this contest, Jim. Go rogue.
Stewart, how can people find out more about that?
Yeah, you just go to Disrupt Mining. I'm sure if you Google that and Gold Corp, you'd find out pretty quick what's going on for year 3 of that.
Stewart, thank you so much for chatting with us.
My pleasure.
My guest has been Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the ResourceWorks Society. His website, resourceworks.com. If you have any questions for Stewart or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.